Hey, good everyone. This is Rangadad. Not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the markets today. And yeah, bit of action. Obviously, it was a little bit of an early call on the low, but we did find it pretty soon after, it would seem, at least at the time being. So um, everything's still on the underlying stuff is quite bullish, and we'll get into that. I did forget to go through normal stocks and stuff yesterday, but the guys in Origin, I wrote a description yesterday that just said basically everything's still looking pretty bullish going into the election. So we'll have a look at that in more detail today. Interesting advanced decline lines ticking up. I think this does actually relate to crypto somehow, but it could just be the S&P 500 or normal stock market as well. Whatever it is, that's a good signal to the upside. Looks like we're reclaiming that 13 EMA as well. Where's the... There we go. We go back to this volume profile. As we said yesterday, it looked like it was finding support off that value area high there, the 40% level value area high. And yeah, it's had a decent bounce since then. Obviously, this is a fairly highly traded zone as well, so you would expect to find some support there anyway. If we do break down and break through that, then yeah, not great. But for the time being, it's looking like a pretty good turnaround. Interesting. We drew this up yesterday. We could end up actually hitting that. Not a bad level for a bounce in momentum anyway, put it that way. And I would expect BBWP to follow if we do get another update. If we do get another update, I would kind of expect it to be a pretty big one. Shorter time frames, we'll get into that in a second though, because there's some silly buggers going on there. Just have a quick look at... I'm just going to do the equal weights today. So equal weight NASDAQ is up pretty significantly. I haven't had a look what's going on with the election yet. I assume it's still relatively tight, but it seems like the market thinks that Trump's won. So still be a little careful. This is showing the stream's current bit rate is 0. But it's definitely not showing that on the other metrics. So hopefully that's just a false signal there. So yeah, good bounce here. You kind of want confirmation above that 13 EMA, I think. Realistically, you want 2 up days in a row. Stochastic momentum has switched to the upside though. BBWP is still above the signal line, so that's pretty good as well. S&P 500. So yeah, this tick up here, I did point this out yesterday. The advanced decline line was ticking up. That's a pretty good sign. So bounce off the 50 EMA on the SPY would be a pretty good level. Equal weight hasn't got through that 13 EMA there, but at the same time, 13 EMA is probably not the one we need to worry about on this. It's probably the 20, to be honest, looking at these levels. So yeah, decent move so far to the upside. Crosses stochastic momentum for the equal weight. Looking pretty good to the upside. IWM's looking good. Pretty big moves today. It's 1.5%. They're not small moves at all. Definitely an accumulation day, it would look like. Yeah. XLI, so industrials is smashing it out of the park. That's a big move for industrials. We don't often see moves like that. We do get a couple, but hopefully it's not just a big move and then sideways. Hopefully it's more like this, a big move off a low, and then we go on a run. Not huge volume. I think a lot of the market is still just waiting for the election to close or to finish, get decided. Low volumes across the board. Services PMI has actually ticked up, surprised the upside as well. That's interesting. So equal weight XLY XLP, that had a good day yesterday as well. So this is suggesting support for the move to the upside. Not a lot to be concerned about at the moment. This can stay in the bullish control zone for quite a while. Banking, KREs, again, good bounce off this trend line. Hard to be bearish across the board here by the look of this. ITB, yeah, not too bad. Yeah, home builders sort of coming off that low pretty well. Got a little bit of resistance here, I'd say, but stochastic momentum's just crossing out of that bearish control zone and heading up. So would expect it to break through. ITB, what is ITB? Yeah, home construction. Yeah, sorry. Home builders ETF is basically the same. DJI Gold is coming off a bit of a bottom here. That's because both, and like DJI and DJT are both coming off a bit of a low. That's relatively bullish. If that can hold and follow through to the upside, that would suggest we're going on a bigger run. Both of them. But yeah, DJT's moving up pretty steadily. VIX is down. Now the skew had a little tick up yesterday after a pretty decent down day, but still sort of holding this trend line really. Ignoring that that bigger dip there, trend line's not great, but just the fact that this is still trending to the upside kind of suggests there's still some strength in the market. We start seeing a real turnaround and downside in the skew over longer periods, then be a little bit more concerned that a big dip is coming. Interesting, Chinese stock market has gone yesterday. So I'd actually consider that a pretty decent breakout. I'm expecting that to go up. I know they were meeting to finalize the stimulus package yesterday, I think. So probably some good news out of that. But that's broken all these wicks here. Hasn't quite cleared this little chunk in here, but the fact that we've bounced back outside the 382, cleared a decent level in here, chances are that goes to the upside, and that will probably be a pretty decent breakout, to be honest. Like that's coming off super low volatility, super low BBWP. Yeah, it's already postured to the upside. Could be a pretty massive move for China there. Chinese stocks anyway. Japan will probably follow if the election results are favourable. TLT, yeah, it's basing. Could get a little bit of chop in here over the next few days because we do have the rate decision coming out, but it certainly looks like it's the downside is over for the time being. High yield jump, yeah, potentially a little bottom on that as well. This is the one that's really suggesting that we're not really in much of an issue at the moment. Generally, when this is up, there's no real cause for concern, and it is definitely up. 2-year 10-year is actually making a run back for the inversion. I don't think that'll happen. Even if it does, it's not a huge deal. Sometimes markets will reinvert on the bond markets, on the yields anyway. After that initial uninversion, so it's the initial uninversion that really sets the timer ticking. Copper, good breakout. I did call that yesterday in the Discord as well. Just good strong move on volume. This hopefully will finally reach our targets. $4.80 is the first target for me. Gold, a little bounce here. It could keep running. I suspect not, but kind of would like it to see it at least test this high again, recover a bit more of that vector candle. We'll just wait to see. Silver, yeah, it's sort of postured more to the downside at the moment, but could be turning. It would be a good level for a turn, momentum-wise. US oil is heading back up. Yeah, that got down to some pretty decent lows there, but first target would have to be 75.5. Aussie dollars finally finding some support as well. US dollars pulling back. This level in here is going to be quite interesting. If we get a bounce out of this level, and there are some pretty decent EMAs through that level, then markets could actually turn to the downside again, just on weakness in the dollar. But yeah, there's a lot of different factors in that. Japanese yen looks like it's basing as well, but these are going to have a lot of resistance to get through. And if everyone's wanting dollars, then they could have more downside yet. So percentage of stocks above 50-day moving average looks like it might be finding a base as well. Mag 7, it's had a little kick to the upside. Not bad levels. Global liquidity is still flat, still at the highs. If it breaks out to the upside, then one probably got some underlying issues in the global markets, but it will also support more upside movements. Tesla's having a bit of a bounce. Probably a lot of people looking for gap fill there, but I don't think we'll do it anytime soon unless we do get a major crash. Nvidia's bouncing off that trend line. Everything was coming into these key levels moving into this election. So looks like upside is favoured for the moment. I mean, Apple's coming off really low momentum there, so upside would make sense. Just got to watch out. Probably wait for the cross to the upside. Amazon had a bit of a few choppy days around its earnings, but you kind of want it to clear this wick, to be honest. before getting too excited, because that is a vector candle. This could just be vector candle recovery before moving down. Don't think it is, but could be. Meta might be the same. So what we've got to watch over the next few months is if we're breaking out to new highs on these, then a lot more upside left in the market. If we don't, if the big guys kind of just range in here for a while and like IWM and the smaller caps go for a run, then we're definitely late cycle, and it might be earlier 2025 that the big crash starts. If we break to new all-time highs, and I'd say it's more end of 2025, sometime in 2026. AMD got slammed on earnings. MCI has earnings today as well after the close. It's been interesting. It's finding a little base here. Could actually rip up and close that gap. Now, this got slammed on Ernst & Young resigning as their accountants. If they have strong earnings, then that could wipe that off pretty easy. ASML, again, it's basing, seems to be basing. Could be the turnaround point. If SMCI does well and bounces, then I would expect ASML and AMD to both actually recover a lot of the drops that they've had. Now, car market is one that we're starting to look at. Stellantis looks like it's sort of making a move to the upside, but momentum's already quite high, but BBWP is low. So not a huge strength in this move. Don't like the look of that. Ford, it's been ranging for a long time. Decent move today. So suggests there might be some strength in the market overall, or at least the stock market's preparing for a strong market and more sales of cars and things like that. So let's have a look. Dedicated chart for that. So BTC longs, interesting. We've had a little tick up here. Could just be people buying back in that thought we were going lower. Or these people might have just been correcting de-risking their situation before the election. Again, I'm kind of on this pump. We're looking for a severe drop in the longs, and we're looking for pauses around areas where you would actually be expecting a bounce to the upside. So not a lot else to say about that one. Ethereum, have a quick look at that. Good level for upside. I mean, that is actually trending down technically. Higher high, so yeah, higher high, higher low, but then lower high, lower low, if that's a low yet. So it's kind of changing trend, but I don't expect that to last too long. I think this is just choppy shit for the time being. We need to break back into this range and confirm inside that channel. That's what Ethereum's looking for. And then the next target's basically top of that channel, so 3,700-ish. So have a quick look at Sol as well. I expect that's had a good day. Yeah, great level for Sol to bounce off. I mean, it probably had the best level out of all the cryptos I looked at, just based on this W pattern here. I would expect that to go to, I mean, at least the 187, but to be honest with you, it's probably going higher than that. Things like Brett bouncing as well. Yeah, a lot of these are probably going to find a base pretty soon. Good pullback on Nero, actually. Recovered most of these vectors in here on the daily. Honestly, I think Polygon's pretty cheap at the moment, but Polygon's kind of the forgotten coin at the moment. Doge is going nuts. Doge got a pump after that bloody Department of Government Efficiency idea came out. See how long it lasts. LTC, good pullback into these vectors, needs to find some support here, and I suspect it will, especially if Bitcoin does well. So back into Bitcoin on the lower time frames. Yeah, good moves. Don't like the fact they've just left this sitting here. I mean, it did retest that 200 though. That's pretty bullish. And technically, you'd call that recovered, that vector in there. Hang on, just going to I'll just turn this off for a sec. Overall momentum is to the upside still on that indicator. Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty nasty looking roll over there. A lot of volatility today, decent volumes. In fact, Bitcoin's the only market that seems to have had increased volumes for the election rather than decreased. Yeah, good pullback. That retested the 200 plus it was the 618 level. Good little breakout structure on this falling wedge here as well. So that was a nice little retest of that on the shorter time frames, and then breakout to the upside. And it's probably done the majority of that move, to be honest. But it's just, I wouldn't expect that to be the end of it. And have a quick look at, so real estate. I think I pointed out, I don't know if it was yesterday or not, but does that look like such a long time frame? That's weird. Anyway, big buy around the lows on real estate. Another buy here as well by the look of it. Energy has not loaded for some reason. So communications, why is this showing them? One thing about this is that it can take ages for these charts to load. I think it's because that is on the monthly. Must be their default. No, that's free. Anyway, must have some weird settings happening there. So communications is getting a lot of interest around the bottom here. So yeah, financial sector hasn't loaded. Let's just see if that'll load. Load, yeah. Come on. I swear my internet connection's not that slow. Must be their end. Come on. Ugh. All right. Healthcare sector is getting a lot of interest around the bottom here. Technology sector, that's the one I was trying to look at yesterday. Uh, just wanted to see technology sectors kind of related to crypto in a way. Tech sector's getting some support. I'd expect Bitcoin to be similar. And none of these are loaded properly, which is useful. We did call out yesterday that it had bybit, the BlackRock ETF, did have some pretty big trades around the lows the other day. It was the Friday session. It might have been Saturday last week. No. Anyway, it had another big one yesterday. So this, I think it was the 6th or 7th largest of all time and the 10th largest of all time trades going in at the lows. That's a pretty good sign that things are going to go up. And it's not loading. That's useful. Fantastic. All right, I'll make sure these are all loaded before I actually come on the stream next time. I teed them all up, but not all of them have actually loaded. Yeah. That's a bugger. Anyway, so looks like we're getting a fair bit of chop at the moment. I'd expect this to continue until the election has been confirmed. Pretty good bottoming signal there on the 5-minute. This is a pretty solid bottoming signal on the 5-minute here as well, but it wasn't as strong on the 15-minute. Definitely wasn't as strong compared to the previous one. So if we look at this, see here, that's probably in my mind, that's a slightly stronger signal. The only difference here is it happened on the longer time frames as well. So yeah, that's why I was actually more confident that that was a bottom. I was still worried about the 67,200 level, which turns out it took and then some. But yeah, that sucked out a lot of liquidity, that last little drop to the downside. And the interesting thing was, we were seeing an increase in open interest the whole time this was dropping. We are seeing a bit of a dip now, and it looks kind of like it's rolling over, but I'd expect this to start dropping a little bit to a point as we continue to the upside, just because people start to take profits. Probably mainly once we get to new all-time highs, I'd expect to see this coming back. So anyway, we'll be using this to predict sort of short-term and macro highs and lows as into the future still. The other interesting thing was watching this. So this pullback here, picking up this big chunk of liquidity, it just swiped it straight to the upside. And the amount of orders that came in below that were actually quite low all the way up here. It's like the market was scared. This was a perfect time for Bitcoin to move. I remember last bull run and stuff, Bitcoin would move and change directions in times of low liquidity just because they didn't want to leave. Well, it doesn't seem to want to leave at a time when it's going to get lots of people taking longs at this point with stop losses under here. It wants to move and have as little people winning as possible. It's kind of what the market does. So, this is a good swipe of some long liquidity that came into the charts. Some pretty decent longs got wiped out here. 53 million, 28 million. It's got a fair chunk there, 46, but I think, to be honest, we've left that behind. It's only if the market freaks out over something either election-wise or Fed-wise this week that we would see it come back into that level, I think. Yeah, it looks like pretty decent upside potential. You can see how good these targets are as targets. Once they hit it, they tend to rest for a bit before going further. You can see here with that few sort of liquidations in here and that many above, it's going to be attracted to that. So that was Binance. This is the rest of the market. Pretty similar story, really. You get slightly different levels, but that's why we wicked down into that level there. Have a quick look at nation map. Change the look of this. So the 1 day, there is now more longs to worry about. So that's a little bit concerning. Down into 67,200 wouldn't go astray. 7 day is still quite heavily upside though. Long-term bullish. This still obviously concerns me a little bit, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's just left for the time being. It's just if the market freaks out, there are some pretty big targets down below. Don't think that's going to happen at this stage. Finance also has a lot of liquidations in this level compared to the rest of the market by the look of it. Lots of big orders in here, so we could definitely pull back into these levels, but at the moment, it looks like the market wants to go up, just in general. I actually converted the rest of my USDT in my trading account into Bitcoin, and we'll just be going off the inverse perps for the time being. Rather have it in there. Yeah, unfortunate that hasn't loaded. Loads this time. There we go. So yeah, it was the 7th highest there. It could have been a sell, but that was more than likely a buy. Just looking at that level there, and some good clustering around that level as well. So these horizontal lines are showing trade clusters. So where you got big numbers of trades, big numbers of big trades at those levels. The number 1 and the number 4 were both around that level. So we got pretty close to that level today as well. That would be the top. So you can find some resistance around these levels. Obviously, that's going to be a pretty key level on the way up as well. They're basically going to form your resistance levels, I think, on the way up. All right, so we mark it off. It's pretty obvious to see on this anyway. That's going to be a resistance level. That's going to be a resistance level, but I'd expect us to take that fairly easily. Then obviously that's going to be a resistance level up there, but not even going to worry about putting that one on. All right, so good breakout. Don't want to see Bitcoin sort of get back into this zone for any amount of time. don't want to see it break below the 67,200 for any extended period of time either. Confirmations below that where you're seeing sort of 2 down candles in a row below those levels would be a bit scary. Yeah, for the time being, sideways and up, I think. It's a big call given the election, but the underlying structure would suggest that's the way to go. If we close up here, close above this wick, 69,500, call it, on the daily today, would suggest generally upside bias. Could pull back a little bit tomorrow still, like as I said, could get some sideways chop here, but nice V-shaped recovery to push through to new all-time highs would look pretty freaking bullish, to be honest. Downside, break below yesterday's low and confirm with a couple of 15-minute candles. Then we're back talking about this channel here, back into the 64,400 levels. Okie dokie. That'll do for today, I think. Covered everything.